Hello and welcome to another episode of the Sal Licata Show, available on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. And it was a rough week a week ago for both the Mets and the Yankees. And last night you saw one team getting back on track in a big way. And let's start there, where it was one of the wildest regular season games that I can remember seeing. Actually, the game that I thought about was a Subway Series game between the Mets and Yankees in 1999 and the Matt Franco game on that Saturday afternoon, I believe, at Shea Stadium was the first time the Mets won 2 out of 3 from the Yankees. Pathetic that I could even remember that, but that was the case in a game that was just back and forth like what we saw last night. And I'm thinking initially watching it, trying to get settled in, you get home from work, wife barking orders as soon as I get home. You gotta take the dog out, feed the dog, make sure Sammy's put to bed, eat. I mean, I'm like, how am I supposed to do all this stuff and watch baseball, knowing also that I wanted to stay up and watch the Mets on the West Coast against the Dodgers. Anyway, by the time I got settled in, it was already 4-0 Yanks, and you saw Judge, heard about that one on the way home. Judge hitting the bomb of a home run to get things started. Actually, I heard about that because I was on the phone with Badabooms, and he's yelling in the background, "Oh, yeah." I'm like, what happened? What? We find a way to give away the Soto bobblehead? And he's like, which we're going to do, by the way. Soto bobblehead, we will explain that throughout the course of, there you go, brand new. I got it to say the other day. Do that throughout the course of this show here. But anyway, so he's going nuts about the Judge homer. They're up 4-0, and I'm thinking, okay, the Angels stink. We know where the Yankees are at back home, and I expected the Yankees to fully bounce back this week at home. The Angels, and then they play the Royals later in the week. So I was expecting the Yankees to have a big week. And the reason why I said that specifically is because I picked them in that pool. Again, that base, you got to pick the team to have a positive week. It has been a rough start so far with my 2 entries. Anyway, I think the Yanks, who have 7 games, I think they'll at least go 4-3 and probably better, because this is what the Yankees do. We've seen them do this over the years where, all right, they hit a little bit of a bump for a bad week and then they take off. And you saw last night why, because of those bats. So I'm watching that game thinking 4-0, this is over. Even though Will Warren, I don't trust him because you just can't give you much length. And you didn't get that from Warren again last night, where Warren only went 3 2/3. It's just not sustainable. He's become a problem here. But the good news is that there are reinforcements in place for the Yankees, and he's not going to be a relied upon starter, assuming that the other guys can come back and then stay healthy, with Cole and Rodon specifically. But Warren on the mound, all right, even so, they'll turn over the bullpen, they'll be all right. And that was not the case. I mean, the Angels come right back. So it goes from 4-0 to 4-4. Yanks go up again, 7-4, and you're thinking, all right, now they start to pull away. The Angels come back, make it 7-7, and Mike Trout with a throwback night. I mean, how fun was that? Not only was it a great game because of the back and forth between the Yankees and Angels, and because everybody likes watching offense, right? I mean, that's what makes it fun. I like good pitching, too. A pitcher's duel is always fun. But it's really fun when you see a team that actually can score. Swing the bat, hit the ball, score some runs. That is really fun. Last night you saw 2 of them in that game with the Yankees and Angels throwing haymakers back and forth. So you had Trout doing his thing with the 2 homers, Judge doing his thing with the 2 homers. Trout hits his second one at a time. Judge is like, damn, man, and this guy still got it. He did. I think, as a matter of fact, Shane O'Mac was there, and you could hear him chanting, "You still got it. You still got it." Did you see that, Badaboom? Shane O'Mac was in the bleachers. I didn't know.
Money.
I didn't know Shane McMahon was a big Yankee fan, sitting in the right field bleachers and then taking a picture at stands afterward. You see that?
Exactly. I was going to say that too. You caught that as well. Big Yankee fan, Shano.
I know. I had no idea. He's a big New Yorker. I always loved that dude. Again, not huge into the wrestling, and I didn't know him when he first came up, but later years where he's putting his body on the line. I respect the hell out of that. Trying to maybe prove something to his father.
Think about this. When he was your age, he got thrown off the Hell in a Cell.
Unbelievable what he's done. And just seems like a good dude. Sneakerhead, just a cool guy. I'd love to hang out with Shane O'Mac one day. Anyway, I'd even go to the bleachers and stands if I had to, even though it's not my territory necessarily.
Maybe he wants he can enter our giveaway.
Yeah. Anyway, Trout throwback night. He just looked insane and reminded you why he's one of the best players in the game, or was one of the best players in the game. But then you have the back and forth with that. Angels go up 8-7 on the Yanks, which is shocking. The Yanks went up 8-7 after the Judge second home run. So 4-0, 4-4, 7-4 Yanks, 7-7, 8-7 Yanks after the Judge homer. You're thinking, all right, that's got to be the nail in the coffin. Nope, they come back again. And then the Trout homer puts the Angels up 10-8, and now, and I don't know about you, but I've seen this game way too many times where the Yankees at home, especially against a team like the Angels, they're going to come back. I never thought that game was over. Even coming down to the ninth inning there, you knew that the Yankees were going to figure out a way to come back. And they did just that. And Trent Grisham had himself a breakout performance. And that's why I talked about yesterday. I still think because the Yankees offense is just too good, specifically at the top of the order. The overall numbers have been putrid. It's not just the bottom of the order. It's been everybody for the Yankees, but they have the guys that can produce, specifically Grisham, Judge, Bellinger, Stanton. We know all the Ben Rice. We know all the guys that get. Rosario's had a terrific year, but mainly those big guys. And you saw that last night in a big way with the Grisham home run tying the game. And then McMahon, the other McMahon in the building last night, Ryan McMahon gave a quality at bat. It was to a point last night where he's up there in that spot, and I'm thinking, good. I felt bad for him. I didn't want him to get out again with the game on the line like that. So McMahon did come through with a walk, and then you had the wild pitch, scoring the winning run. Caballero, who had himself a good game as well. But a fun night in the Bronx with the back and forth. Even my wife was getting in there because we were watching this. She's sitting there doing work on her laptop, and I'm like, oh, I got to watch this Yankee game here before the Mets start. And the 4-0, 4-4, 7-4, 7-7, 8-7 Yanks, 8-8. And then the Angels come back, make it 10-8. Yankees come back and tie it 10-10. A wild game. Haymakers left and right. And a much-needed win for the Yanks, ending their losing streak. Like I said, I'm not going to go nuts. I don't think the bullpen is that bad because Bird is not going to be in high-leverage situations. He was bad. Blackburn isn't. He's not going to be in high-leverage situations. Doval gave up a home run to Trout. I mean, Mike Trout is one of the best players in the game's history. It's going to happen. I still think Doval will be okay. You like Cruz. You like Hill. I don't love Bednar as much as everybody else. I think the Yankees need a real closer and then move Bednar down a slot, and that will also help lengthen out the bullpen. But the bullpen will be fine eventually. I think the starting can be great once they get those guys back, but that's going to be an issue that they're going to have to overcome early on with the lack of length from Warren and then potentially Heel and Weathers. I know Weathers last time out went 8, and they desperately need that. We'll see what he does tonight. But those three pitching back to back to back is going to tax the bullpen more often than not. So they're going to need to get Cole back. And once they do, you would think that Cole, Fried, Schlittler, potentially Rodon, those guys will certainly give you more length than you would be getting out of Will Warren, who even him you want to move to the bullpen or use the depth starter. Yankees can figure out how they're going to use that fifth starter. Weathers, same thing. You'll get one of those guys or two of those guys in the bullpen, and then that'll strengthen the bullpen while also strengthening the rotation. So the Yankees are going to be just fine. Just a rough week for them. Now, the Mets, I'm not so sure that they're going to be fine, although I still think it's way too early to make any big long-term decisions about where this team is at, but it is just infuriating. Quite the opposite of the game that we saw from the Yankees, where the Mets just can't score runs. And there's not, I mean, they made this guy, Warbleski, how do you say his name, Badabooms? You know this guy? You have him in fantasy or something? You play with him on the show?
I don't, but I'm pretty sure it's Warbleski.
Warbleski, yeah, what did I say? Warbleski, they made him look like Clayton Kershaw last night. And I don't care that the Mets can't hit lefties. It's not that they can't hit lefties. They can't hit anybody, even if it dates back to last year. Their offense was not as good as it was supposed to be a year ago. I was having this conversation yesterday on Baseball Night in New York on SNY. I was having the conversation yesterday, and I think it was JJ, as a matter of fact, who was like, well, the Mets offense last year was very good. And I disagree with that. I don't think it was very good. And as a matter of fact, I thought it was supposed to be better than what it was. Coming off of 2024, after you add Juan Soto, the expectation was that, I remember saying it going into the year, I thought that was going to be the best offensive team that the Mets have had since 2006. And it was very disappointing. And now fast forward to this year, and I think you could look at that lineup and say, wow. And I did say this is the deepest lineup that they've had since 2006. And again, they can't perform. They can't hit. And I can't go nuts and rip them without their best player. And not only their best player, but one of the top 3 offensive players in the sport with Juan Soto out. That's going to hurt any lineup. But we all know that it's much more than that. Even if Soto was there, he's not a one-man machine. Although Juan Soto may be making his best case for MVP while being on the IL with his team not being able to score any runs. That's what's going on right now. They need to get Soto back in the worst way. And then you would think that the top of the order maybe could jump on people early in games. That's when the Mets are going well with their offense. I have to go back, 30 freaking years. But you go back to 99 or 2000, those teams, 2006, certainly that was just a deep lineup. Those teams the top guys in the order were hitting early and getting them up early, getting them leads early. Let the pitching staff then go to work, play some good defense. Man, this team has just played a brutal brand of baseball. They don't play good defense. They obviously don't hit. The pitching has been up and down. But last night, the clear culprit, and you're going against a Dodger team that's loaded with pitching, and that's why how do you say it again? Warblowski? Warblowski. That's why going up against him, you thought maybe the Mets had a chance in that game. And not only did they not have a chance, they got mowed down rather quickly. The game was thankfully, the game was 2 hours and 20 minutes. You stayed up for the whole thing. Did you stay up for the whole thing, Badabooms?
Yes, I did.
Well, what was the pause there?
Giving you live updates too.
Yeah, no, I know, but then we lost communication a little bit, so I figured, maybe a young
you
buck went to sleep.
Responding, not me.
You know why? Because I can't do it anymore. I have a bad problem. Baseball lends itself to the downtime to where you start looking at your phone.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm texting you, I'm texting others, I'm watching social media, and then I started to get a headache. Just I think because when I look at the phone, I'm usually putting on the glasses, and then to watch the game, I got to take off the glasses. So I was just I can't do this anymore. Let me lock what?
Old man. Get the cheaters on to watch a baseball game. Jeez.
I know. Well, no, not to watch the baseball game, to read the phone. And then I got to watch the game.
Screen too. You don't need cheaters to watch the game on that screen.
No, so I use the glasses for the phone and then the glasses off to watch the TV. Yeah. So anyway, so a little bit of a headache there. But point is, the game was only 2.5 hours, which was nice. So we did stay up for the whole thing, maybe hoping that the Mets would actually get a couple of hits and string something together and rally, because 4-0 was not that bad of a deficit. So clearly, it's the offense that's the problem. It's been the problem with the offense. And even with the game last night going in with David Peterson, who I do not trust, I'm on record as saying I wanted Peterson out of the rotation. I expected him to be out of the rotation before the season, where I thought Manaea would get that spot and Peterson would be moved to the bullpen, and that was not the case. Manaea's velocity down, so Manaea starts the year in the pen. Peterson gets the spot in the rotation, and he was god-awful his last 2 times out, and you think maybe pitching for a spot in that rotation last night. And I think he earned another start. Peterson was not that bad. He gave up the home run to Pius. It happens. It can't happen in your spot where you got to be perfect with Peterson, but think of it this way. If he threw a one-hit shutout, the Mets still would have found a way to lose that game because they weren't scoring any runs. The last I checked in baseball, you do have to actually score to win games, and that was not the case with the Mets last night. They couldn't get a run, couldn't even get anything close to mustering up some kind of threat. They don't even get guys on base anymore. But Peterson was impressive. I thought he was going to melt down in the first. He didn't. Came back and had 5 straight strikeouts. And then, like we said, gave up the home run to Pius, and that was all that the Dodgers would need. But 5 innings for Peterson, 4 runs against LA with 7 strikeouts. I think we've seen a lot worse. I'm not trusting him, but I would not kick him to the curb just yet, where the Mets still need him to take a start every 5th day. I just hate how they have it lined up. I don't know why they would do that with Peralta, Peterson splitting up, McLean. Just go with your best guys. Imagine if they just went Peralta, McLean, Holmes, their 3 best starters right away. I don't like how they broke that up with Peterson. I'd rather have the 2 worst guys at the back end, traditional 1 through 5. Anyway, this one was not on Peterson. It was on the offense. But I will say, without getting too nuts over, now 17 games and the Mets going the wrong way at 7-10, it's still early. Here's the bottom line with them. If you believed that they were going to be bad going into the year, then so far you have been validated based on the start through 17 games. If you thought Lindor was going to stink and Bichette was an overrated signing, but you didn't like Polanco and Vientos, seeing him in the lineup more often than you thought you'd see, and he was going to be terrible, all those different things. If you thought all those things were going to happen, or for whatever reason, the pitching, whatever, if you thought the Mets were going to be bad or not be as good offensively as some people expected, then you have been validated so far through 17 games. I would guarantee you that the results will be different after 17 games. Maybe not just for the Mets, but for anybody. Like Nimmo leading the league in batting average. Yeah, okay, well, that's going to come back down to earth. We've seen this story before. Teams get off to hot starts and then they go collapse. Look at last year. The Mets were one of the best teams in baseball. And the top 3 teams, I forget the exact record. I think we used this on SNY as well yesterday. Look at where they were a year ago. 11-5, whatever it was. Like, yeah, the Mets are rolling. And then they fell off a cliff. So it's way too early to go nuts. But if you believed going into the year that the Mets were going to be bad, so far your feelings have been validated. If you are like me and believe that the Mets were going to be good, So far, the feelings have not been validated, and it's been the opposite. But I'm not going to sway from what I believed coming into the year after just 17 games. To me, that would be asinine. I'm not flip-flopping all year long with baseball teams, where I've seen people do that before, where, okay, they have a bad week. Oh, this team's terrible. Get rid of everybody. They have a good week. Everybody's great. This is going to be the best thing. Another bad week. Oh, this guy told you this guy's another good week. Wow, they're back on. Everything's great. I mean, it's ridiculous. I'm not doing it. I mean, it's absurd the way that I like reacting to each and every game. I'm not changing my core beliefs coming into the year just because right now it doesn't look very good. I believe the Mets are a good team. Now, do I think they're the level of the Dodgers? I do not. And I don't think there's anything they could do to get there this year. The only way that you can logically make a prediction that the Mets could beat the Dodgers in a series or get lucky in the postseason would be one, somebody else beats the Dodgers and the Mets don't have to face them, which even that, it would be, right, somebody gets them in the best of five. We saw that almost happen a couple of years ago with the Padres. They almost did get beat by the Blue Jays a year ago. Somebody had that, some kind of bad luck. Somebody has to get hot and knock the Dodgers off. That's one way to do it. The other would just be a total, like, absurd fluke of flukes. There is no singular player, and I don't even think no group of players that the Mets could acquire in season that would put them on the level of the Dodgers. That would shock me. I don't want to put limitations on anybody, certainly after 17 games, but I was hopeful that, anything's possible. Dodgers come back down to earth. The Dodgers look better this year than they've looked in either of the last 2 years, which they won the World Series in consecutive seasons. Doesn't mean they're going to win it again. It just means that they are playing at another level. Look at the lineup. Look at the rotation. Look at the bullpen. They're absolutely loaded. Now, I still would bet that somebody will beat them. I would just bet that somebody is not, in fact, going to be the Mets. And it shows you that big picture, long term, where the Yankees have a shot. You could look at the Yankees and you could expose some of their weaknesses and talk about where your concerns are, the bottom of the order, or the lack of development with the young guys, or the starting rotation if it doesn't get healthy, or if you're concerned about the bullpen. Sure enough, or fair enough. The Yankees still, even with all that, have a legitimate chance to get to the World Series and win the World Series. I'm not saying that they would beat the Dodgers straight up, but they have a shot. They have the pieces in place. I don't think the Mets have enough. Where even the rotation, even the best guys with Peralta, McClain, Holmes, that's not enough, I don't believe, to get through the Dodgers, combined with their bullpen and combined with their offense. It's like they're playing a different sport. And it shouldn't be that way with the roster, with the payroll being the way that it is. And they need to figure out how that's going to change. I mean, if you painted a best case scenario for the Mets, think about it. All the things that they brought their guys in to do, they have not done. Bo Bichette was brought here to hit in the clutch, drive in runs, and not strike out. Exact opposite of that. Luis Robert Jr. brought here to play Gold Glove defense in center field. Exact opposite of that. Carson Bench. If you think the best case scenario for Bench, it was supposed to be a guy who's going to be a youthful, exciting player, both sides, defensively, offensively. Opposite of that. He looks like he doesn't belong in the big leagues yet. Needs some seasoning, a little more seasoning in the minor leagues. First base, they haven't even had a chance with Polanco, who's been banged up with the Achilles. So you could dismiss him and say you didn't think he's going to be a good first baseman. I did think he was going to be serviceable at first and still think he's their best defensive first baseman because I know Viento's saying it. But Polanco hasn't had a chance to get out there and do that. And offensively, he hasn't done anything. Lindor, the guy that I wanted to trade last year, and people are like, why would you trade Lindor? What an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about. You trade Lindor. Yeah. How about now? Maybe sometimes I'm so smart, I'm so far ahead of everybody else, they can't see the vision. But you couldn't see it, and now I'm telling you again, and now, you can't trade him. Nobody would give you anything for Francisco Lindor. So I would have traded Lindor in the offseason. But if you think I still think he's going to be better than what he's been. I don't know about the mental miscues and all those, those issues that he's had. But if you think that this is going to be Francisco Lindor, then the Mets are toast, and there's no point. Simeon, I still think Simeon's been fine. I think he's given quality at bats. He's hitting the ball hard, squaring it up. I know the metrics showed the last couple of years he's declining, and maybe he's never going to be close to what he was as an offensive player at his peak, but I still think he could give you something, and I like his veteran leadership at second base. But still, I thought the Mets were going to have guys that were tough, guys that played downhill, guys that were confident, and I'm just not seeing it. Did they get eaten up already by the negative fan base in New York? Did they get eaten up already by the pressure? And by the way, what's up with all the coaches? Everybody wants to pick on Carlos Mendoza. And fine, like when teams struggle and if they continue to lose, Mendy's going to be on the chopping block. I don't think it's warranted, but that's just the way that it works. But what about all the new guys that they brought in around him? Kai Correa, all the coaching staff, JD Martinez, Carlos Beltran's been here. Like, aren't those guys supposed to help these hitters? Aren't those guys supposed to teach these guys how to play with a sack? Like, I don't understand it. And then you watch it and it's pathetic. It's pathetic. They give you nothing. Again and again, they give you nothing. Now, I think it's going to change. I want to reiterate that. But it is frustrating to watch. And there's no reason to believe that it would change against the Dodgers. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But there's no reason to believe that it would change against the Dodgers. There's no reason to believe that it's going to change until they get Soto back and start figuring out some things. And David Stearns has had a track record of having a quick trigger. Well, like Joey Wendell comes to mind. If guys aren't performing early on in the season, he'll shake things up. So the good news is it's a long way to go. Also, Stearns will shake things up. The bad news is, where do they turn? Whereas if we look at the Yankees and say, well, their rotation, if I think their biggest issue is that their rotation right now is not giving them length with 3 out of their 5 starters, you can say, well, they're going to turn to Cole and Rodon. And if they needed to, maybe they add a starter at the deadline, but that solves that problem. You also could dip into the minors if you wanted to get more offense. And Dominguez, who's tearing the cover off the ball, maybe he comes up and performs eventually if they find, if Grisham can't get it going, whatever it may be, they figure out a spot for Grisham. They have you go down in the minors and pull from there, or the guys coming back from the injured list. The Mets don't have any answers. I mean, this is it. I'm not saying you can't get. So the Mets went down in the minors. They brought up Tommy Pham. Like, that's not like going down in the minors and picking up your Jason Dominguez per se. If Carson Benj were down in the minors and hitting 400, and the Mets started the year with, say, Tauchman, and Tauchman was struggling, you could say, hey, you know what, go to Benj. At least there would be that salvo to fire. You'd be excited about the idea of him coming up. Well, that's not there. The Mets fired all their bullets. They're all here. You want to say that you could go into the minors for Christian Scott or Jonah Tong? Okay, that's not getting Carlos Rodon or Garrett Cole back. So the Mets they do have some issues here, and I now wonder what the ceiling of this team could be, because I could say that it's early and I could still believe in the team, which it is early, and I do still believe in the team. But if I'm being fully honest with myself and you, do I think that there's any chance the Mets win the World Series this year? Whereas 3 weeks ago going in, I was like, yeah, anything could happen and they have a good roster. I do not think, and I've done this before and written them off, like, 2024, I thought they forget about World Series. I didn't even think they were going to be. In 2024, after 0-5, I said they're never going to see 500 again. So it just shows you how early, the season is in April. Same thing with the Nationals. Nobody in the world thought the Nationals would win the World Series in 2019 after the way they started, or reference the Phillies in 2022 or the Diamondbacks the following year. Like, we've seen examples of it. Do I really believe the Mets could do that? Outside of saying, well, anything could happen. It's a long season and just get in the postseason. Maybe. And maybe the Mets do make additions that make this thing look differently, but there are steps along the way to get to that point. Like, we don't even know now if the Mets are going to be in a striking position come trade deadline. And the way things are trending, it doesn't seem very good, because you're seeing, sadly, the worst of all the question marks. They had a lot of question marks going into the year. What's this guy going to be? What's that guy going to be? What's this guy? Yeah, if this guy performs to the best of his abilities, if this guy lives up to the expectations, then they're going to be good. If they don't, then it's going to be an issue. And they've had almost every one of those guys, the ifs, so far through 17 games, go the wrong way. And that would include Soto, who's just not there right now. Lindor, Soto, not there. Like, Lindor, I'm doing the thumbs down in case you guys are listening. So Lindor, far underperforming. I probably shouldn't just do visuals here, being that some people listen to this on the Audible, just the Audible podcast. Anyway, Lindor, no good. Far underperforming. I mean, the worst start that we've seen. This is clearly the worst start of his career, and it's not even close. All facets of the game. Bichette, he's been terrible, and he's looked even worse. The results, the numbers are bad. He's looked even worse. Soto is not there. Polanco, far underperforming. Luis Robert Jr., overperforming offensively, underperforming defensively. Benj, underperforming. Alvarez, I would say, is overperforming slightly, if not performing to where we thought that he would be performing. Vientos just has not been good. So I know he had a good week or whatever. Overall, he is what we thought he was a year ago. Simeon underperforming, or maybe at least to the level that people thought, which was not much. So you're either reaching somewhat disappointing expectations and not exceeding that, or far underperforming that. And that's a major issue. The pitching hasn't been the problem, so I don't even need to go over the pitching. I mean, Luke Weaver's not going to be perfect, but neither is anybody in the bullpen. The bullpen's been fine. It's the offense that has been the biggest culprit. Even the starters for the Mets, I think they've lived up to the expectations. Peralta maybe, and he was really good his last time out. You need to see more length from him, but he's good. McClain, as expected, legit stud. Holmes been better, maybe a little bit better, taking a good step forward this year. Senga, who knows, one start good, one start bad. Peterson, same thing. So those guys kind of as predicted. It's the other stuff. And I was reading something from Anthony DiComo this morning where he had some metrics saying that the Mets have also been unlucky offensively. I guess the batting average on balls in play, the BABIP or whatever these new stats are, that it does show you that the Mets have been a little bit unlucky, but they've been a combo of bad and unlucky. And that's not good. Although, as DiComo writes, it's better than just being bad. I do think it'll turn, but when it does turn, how much will it turn? And are they actually better than, forget the Dodgers, are they better than the teams within their division? The Braves, people were looking to, write off because of all the injuries. They've gotten off to a nice start. I think the Marlins are better than we thought. The Marlins are a dangerous team, and they've always given the Mets troubles. Could the Nats be a little bit better? All right, are they a legitimate threat? I don't know. Phillies, probably frustrating as well. Look, bottom line, it's early, but also bottom line is, if you're talking about World Series, I think there's only one team in this town who has a legitimate chance to win the World Series, and that is not the Mets. That would be the Yankees. Long way to go, but just projecting forward, especially after watching the Dodgers for the first time for a full game. All right, let's do that Soto giveaway here. Badabooms sent me a thing for the Juan Soto bobblehead. You want to explain this?
Did you see the Edwin Diaz video before we get to the giveaway?
No, what video?
Laura Albanese put this out last night at 9:37. The Dodgers are playing a video hyping the fact that they took Edwin Diaz from the Mets. And in the video, Dave Roberts was quoted saying, "There's a reason Edwin Diaz wanted to come here. He's chasing a ring." They played that in the stadium.
Hard to argue, though. Hard to argue. And for whatever reason, Diaz, I don't want to get into the chemistry stuff with the Mets because it seems like there's, the talk now and speculation because Lindor's been so bad and playing mentally just not there for the first 17 games that, maybe there's chemistry issues within the club. I'm not going down that road again. They got rid of a lot of guys. We know the history with Lindor and Soto. I don't think that Soto's not even here. He's not in the lineup or healthy. It's no excuse. I don't care. They're big boys. They got to suck it up and figure it out. So, but the point why I'm saying that is because then I was reading some stuff last night and seeing some stuff or that, Diaz didn't want to be there. Edwin Diaz didn't want to be there for a reason. Something's weird is going on with the Mets. I give up, man. I give up trying. So hats off to Diaz. Brims off the hats to Diaz. He likes wearing that brimless hat. He went and wanted to go to the Dodgers, so good for him. He's not even pitching, and it doesn't even matter right now. The Dodgers are so good.
He mentioned, too, something about how his brother, Alexis Diaz, who went there, he was at one point an upcoming star for the Reds.
Mm-hmm.
And then
I remember.
His brother said how they treated him and his family as a reflection on why Edwin should go there. I mean, didn't Steve Cohen get the plane for you when, you tore your ACL or whatever it was?
Yeah, that's why I was mad at Diaz because I feel like whatever, he's allowed to make his decisions and he knows more about what's going on there than I do. Maybe he just wasn't happy. He just wanted to go to LA, different vibes, taking care of his family, whatever. But I thought that Cohen's treated him more than fairly, not only and like family. I mean, that was supposed to be part of the environment. Here's one other thing before I give, and thank you, Badabooms, for that, because it's a good note. Aside from the Diaz thing, I was thinking about this too, because the Mets have the financial capabilities to compete with the Dodgers. Unfortunately for them, it's not a level playing field. Cohen's got to be immensely frustrated because it's not a level playing field where that he went to get Yamamoto, for example. He went to get Kyle Tucker, for example. He went to get Edwin Diaz, you bring up. Think about those three guys arguably could have been Mets. He went for those guys, did all he could. Ultimately, they chose the Dodgers, and not because of, maybe Diaz a little bit because of something that went on with the Mets, but it wasn't because of money. It was because it's the Dodgers who have the built-in pedigree now as a sustained, successful championship organization, been in the playoffs however many years in a row, winning all these divisions, how many years in a row. The Mets just don't have that. So Cohen can't compete. Even the money, when you have the most money and you know that that's not getting the results that you want as far as bringing in the best players, I don't know what you're supposed to do. How the hell are the Mets supposed to get out of this to make it more of a level playing field? The Yankees don't have that problem. The Yankees' issue with not getting these top guys that they don't go for them with the money and the deep pockets that Cohen does. But they don't have the issue as far as the pedigree, although maybe the Dodgers have everybody beat at this particular point. Even the Yamamoto thing where both the Mets and Yanks were in on him for that. But you see what I'm saying? Where the Mets just, it's not level playing ground. And you would think, well, okay, well, I'm going to buy my way to the level playing ground. But you can't even do that. And it shows you the disparity. That was the other thing that I was thinking last night. That is frustrating that you finally have an owner that is willing to spend above and beyond and as much as anybody else in the sport. And yet it doesn't matter because no matter how much he throws at these players, they seem to want to go play for the Dodgers. And that beast just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, feeding itself. You can't compete with it. How can you?
Well, they had a hole at third base, and Murakami was very. I'm killing the Yankees for not getting Murakami. Why didn't the Mets go after Murakami? They needed a third baseman. They needed somebody to replace Pete's Power.
Yeah, but that wasn't Cohen. That was Stern. So, and that's a different conversation. We'll have the conversation about Stearns. Believe me, if this continues. My point is that when you look at the Dodgers and you're like, okay, well, what makes them successful? And it's not just one thing; it's multiple things. But as it pertains to the Mets, they did try to and offer the most money for Yamamoto, which made the Dodgers go up. Yamamoto never wanted to come here. He wanted to go to L.A. The Mets offered Tucker $60 million a year, and he didn't want to come here. He wanted to go to L.A. They would have offered Diaz the most. He didn't want to come here. He wanted to go to. When you're playing in what you think level playing field, and you say, okay, well, I'm going to go pay for that. It'd be like you, to use an analogy that maybe you could understand, like with the show. If you win a game, you get certain packs. But if the playing field is level and you could compete and you win and you start getting certain packs, fair enough. But if you're playing in a spot where only certain packs are allowed for certain players, you'd be up against, there's nothing you could do. No matter how much you win.
Yeah, it's like people who spend money on the game and people who are no money spent, like myself.
Right. The opposite would be that in this case, Cohen does spend the same money. He just can't get the players that he's wanted because his franchise is not the desirable franchise. And it's not a knock on him. It's just been built in for so many years. And you're comparing it now to an all-time, like the Dodgers are doing now what the Yankees were in the 90s, maybe even more impressive than that, which is unfathomable to actually think of. But that's what's happening here. I don't know the answers. If the answers isn't spending money, what is it? Drafting and developing? And that's going to take forever to do that. How are they supposed to get out of it?
You have to get ahead on these guys hitting free agency. Look, what if last year they traded for Tucker? And instead of the Cam Smith trade with the Cubs, they went out and traded for Tucker. Maybe Tucker would have got to spend a year here and say, hey, I like it in New York.
Good point. And another one, too, would be, I think about this all the time, is Max Fried. Because Fried was available. And I agree or agreed with Stern's philosophy in not investing big in starting pitching. But if there was a pitcher that I was going to do it with, it would have been Max Fried. And the Yankees have got every penny worth of Fried so far in the year plus, that the Mets could have used that and had an anchor atop their rotation and then add to it. They chose to ignore that. The Yankees went all in on it, and I think it was a great move by Brian Cashman and the Yankees. Even if it doesn't pan out in the next 5 years or so, right now, you can't argue how much better it would have made the Mets a year ago. If they had Max Fried, they're probably a playoff team last year.
Hopefully we don't have to see this, but there was one big black cloud over Fried in general, which the Yankees have luckily not seen yet. I don't even want to say it, but Fried's injuries and his playoff performance were a concern with the Braves.
Yeah, I understand that. I'm still saying that if I were going to invest in a starting pitcher, he would have been the one.
Yes,
and maybe,
you're right.
maybe the Mets, to get to the point of level playing field, maybe they do have to go beyond the discipline boundaries that they set and say, well, screw it. We can't play under these same rules because it's not working for us. So even though I don't want to give a pitcher 7 years, I'm going to have to do it just to start to get the ball rolling in the right direction and just bite the bullet on
throw money.
No, you want to do it wisely. But if you're throwing money at the Yamamotos or Tuckers, but those guys don't want to be here, they go to LA, well, then you're going to have to do it at the next level player and hope that it works out. Look, man, I don't have the answers. All I'll tell you is it's immensely frustrating watching a team that has all the resources accessible, that has taken a sledgehammer to the core that I thought needed to be broken up, that has changed some things and brought in different guys, and it's still not working. Like all the people that comment, oh, they're cursed and this and that. I'm actually starting to think, like, what the, like, maybe they're right. Like, this is unbelievable. They should not be this bad. It's only 17 games, but it should not be going this way. Even if they were just a 500 team, but playing better baseball. With them, it's when they're bad, they look so freaking awful. Let's just get Soto back and see what happens from there. But and right now there is no comparison. I've alluded to this, but I'm just going to flat out say it. The Yankees are far better, and I knew that the Yankees would come out of it more than the Mets. The Yankees are graded to a different curve, but the Mets should be graded on that same curve. And if we are grading them on the same curve, it's not even close. The Yankees have a legitimate chance to compete with anybody. I think the Yankees right now are the best team in their league and can compete with anybody at the highest level. Even if the Mets get out of this, where are they sitting? Probably still middle of the pack, which was not the case going into the year. People thought that they were going to be better. Your eyes are telling you something different. All right. So here's what Badabooms came up with for the Juan Soto bobblehead, the 40-30 bobblehead just given away this weekend at Chase Stadium giveaway, if you guys care about it. Obviously, you have to be a subscriber. And to enter, you can comment. So subscribe and then comment on any of our YouTube videos from now until the start of the Mets Cubs series. So it's going to have some baseball watching involved here. You comment on comment on any one of our YouTube videos from now until the start of the Mets Cubs series. And then you comment with the total amount of the runs that you think the Mets are going to score in this series. 3-game series versus the Cubs starting Friday afternoon. Remember, Friday 2:20 starts, so get all your comments in before that. Total amount of runs you think the Mets will score in this series, as well as the player that you think is going to lead the Mets in hits for the series. And then for the tiebreaker, you have to throw in the number of hits that player will have. That's the tiebreaker. So it's Mets Cubs series. Subscribe, comment on any of our YouTube videos, the amount of runs total you think the Mets are going to score in Chicago against the Cubs in this series, plus the player that's going to have the most hits, plus the number of hits that you think that player is going to have. So it should include Mets runs, player to lead the team in hits, and total hits by that player. You have until 2:20 Friday, first pitch, to enter. Closest amounts of runs and player combination will win. Winner will be announced on Monday's episode. Did I do that well there, Badabooms? Good job with that.
Yeah, that was good. You spiced it up too. I like that.
If you want the Soto, a bobblehead. All right, let's do a little tired or wired before we say goodbye here. So the first one, Badabooms, you ready? A little tired or wired here on this. What is today? On this Tuesday morning. What is that you just? What
I'm getting the lighting up.
What's up with the green screen? Didn't I tell you to?
No, you told me to sack it for now.
I thought I told you, didn't we? You said
I told you I was going to get the setup for it, and you were like, just sack it for now. I mean, I'll go get it. I'll get it now.
You did get one, but you got the wrong one. Guy gets a green screen that's supposed to attach to his chair. I was like, what kind of you're supposed to be the young one that knows all the technology stuff. And I'm thinking, just get a green screen that you put on legs and put it behind you. How hard could it be? You're like, no, attaches to the chair. Yeah, how'd that work out? All right, first one. The NHL playoffs without a local team. Somebody texted me this morning, my friend Paul. So I'm going to go by my statistician, my buddy Paul, texted me. It's the first time since 1982 that all 3 local teams are out. I don't know if that's factual, but he texted me that, so I'm going to take his word for it. Rangers, no. Islanders, no. Devils, no. NHL playoffs without a local team. Tired or wired?
Absolutely tired. For my estimate, I think the NHL playoffs are the most entertaining sports playoffs there are. The hockey is better. They hit harder. They skate faster. And it's just gritty. I love it. These teams they come in as underdogs, look like they have no chance, somehow match the levels of the 1 seeds when they get in the tournament. I think it's so entertaining. And if you're not a hockey fan, I suggest go out of your way. Just watch one of the games of 2 of the big teams.
So is it tired or wired? Because I thought you said tired.
Oh, wired. Excuse me. This is the first time I've been receiving the tired or wired.
So you're wired. You will be into it even without the locals.
Wired, absolutely.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. Now go ahead, continue. Because I was just confused because you're talking it up, and I'm like, wait a second. I thought you said tired. Go ahead.
Yeah, that was my first time receiving the kick. You know what I mean?
I get it. Yeah, I got it. Right.
Normally
Usually you were kicking the ball off to me.
I'm going to make the tackle.
Yeah, I got it. So go ahead, continue trying to make the play because right now it's looking like a take back for a touchdown here. Kickoff return for a touchdown. Go ahead.
No, it's not me versus you. That's not how this works.
I understand that. It's not 1v1. It's
More
just
be like a fumble Ruski, like when Braden Mann squibbed the offside kick against the Bills in Week 7 in 2023.
so you will be watching the NHL playoffs.
Absolutely, that is something. If there's no Yankees or Mets on that night, even I'll
I know,
find a
but
way to work around it. I'll double screen it.
yeah, but and you got the Knicks playoffs. I'm gonna say
It's a lot
that
going on.
I'm gonna say I respect your answer, and a part of me understands that. I do think the NHL postseason is exciting. However, without a local tie-in, I'm gonna say it's tired, and I will pay it no mind. Oh, I mean, unless for some reason I'm flipping the channels, and why would I even do that? Because the way that we watch TV now, it's like, I'm watching all these different series on Netflix or whatever. Plus, you get the both baseball games, you get the Knicks in the postseason. I, I can't get into, Avs Golden Knights. Maybe the Oilers would be the only team. Is there a team that you will take on and root for?
Don't talk bad about the Avs. Consistently one of the best defenses in hockey.
Yeah, I know. I just can't. I'm saying like I can't get into it. I don't care. Is there a team that you get into in the NHL?
Yes, I actually
Who?
do. I have a little bit of a Western team that I root for. When I was little, I liked their colors, and the Rangers weren't as good, so I'd always root for them in the playoffs when the Rangers weren't in. The Minnesota Wild. Big fan
Okay.
of Kirill Kaprizov, and they got one of the other Hughes brothers there, Quinn Hughes.
John C. Riley meme.
What's wrong with that?
Who are you talking about?
Kirill Kaprizov?
Am I doing that okay?
Yeah, you look like if anybody knows what you're referencing, you're doing that correctly.
Okay. Kaprizov. Okay, so you'll be in the Minnesota Wild. I will maybe McDavid and the Oilers root for them.
McDavid too, Leon, big Leon fan.
Root for McDavid and the Oilers from afar. I know my nephew's a big Trevor Zegras fan, but I can't root for the Flyers, so no. Maybe the Sabres. Not that I like the Sabres, but I like the story of a team who's been out of the playoffs for so long. What? A team who's been out of the playoffs for so long. A team's been out of the playoffs. Being out of the playoffs for so long, you almost relate to that. And then you finally get in there. You have the most points, or the second most points, I guess, in the Eastern Conference here. Anyway, I'm going to say that it's wired. I won't be paying much attention to the NHL playoffs without all three locals. And if they finish in the bottom,
you did it wrong. You did it wrong.
What? What did I say? Tired?
You said wired.
I meant tired. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Look at that. So
stupid segments. All right. Next one.
50-yard line.
Next one. And I got to go here soon. Staying up late for West Coast games. Tired or wired?
Tired. I feel like I'm a kid in high school again, and I know I got to get up the next morning, but I'm sitting there and I'm gambling on, West Coast baseball games. But I don't gamble now, and it's just enjoyable. There's like a feel for it, like a little night owl. I shouldn't be doing this right now. I got to wake up early tomorrow. It's fun.
I think it's still wired, even at my old age of 46. And last night I had no problem staying up for the game. I was actually wired for whatever reason, probably angry with the Mets for not being able to get a hit. But I was wired. It was nice. It's so late that now when I was younger, I used to love it because I was just in my my bedroom at my parents' house, and it was like everybody sleeping. It's dark. It's just me and my team, and we're bonding. So I always loved the West Coast trip. Here we go. Nobody else is up. It's just me, the announcers, and the team. I felt like it was a bonding experience throughout the course of a regular season, from fan to team and all that stuff. So I used to love the West Coast trips. Then you get older and all right, like I literally get tired and can't stay up. But last night I was wired, and it's so good now that it's late. It's like, all right, it's 11:30, midnight. My wife says I'm going to go up to sleep. And now I'm like, have the whole place to myself, got the TV on. Now it's really just me and my team again, taking me back to the old days. Whereas, a normal game, it's like the wife is involved, the dog, you get the kid. So I like the West Coast. I'm still saying wired for that. I enjoy the bonding with the teams on the West Coast when all else in the house is quiet. It's just you and your ball club.
When you would work at the same time as West Coast trips, was it hard to stay focused and watch the Mets while they were playing?
Yeah, I hated that. I always hated doing shows on up against any games. Like there would be times where if I had an open night and I was hosting a show up against a Rangers playoff game or Knicks playoff game, that was the worst. As a matter of fact, I started to take off. During Knicks playoff games, I was not doing a show against a Knicks playoff game. Nobody's listening to the show. And I don't want to be doing the show up against a Knicks playoff game. But Rangers playoff games, I've had to do that with. Mets games, I've had to do that with. And that's annoying being on up against it. All right, last one. And then we could say goodbye. I think I know where you stand on this, but I'm going to bring it up anyway. If you want me to, well, you could answer this first. Let's just keep this going. We'll all kick and you could receive. Reading books, tired or wired?
AO pause and absolutely tired. I mean, absolutely tired. And there's nothing wrong with authors or writers. Like, look at Mike Vaccaro, legend of the game, legend of the game.
That's why I brought it up. The Bosses of the Bronx. I do enjoy reading. So go ahead. You finish up, and then I'll give you mine, and then we can go.
If Vaccaro recorded an audiobook, I would love to listen to that.
He
Absolutely.
might have. Okay, but that's a great answer. So you're saying reading books tired, listening to books could be wired.
Yeah, and this could just be a problem. Could be the ADHD that I have, like, kicking in. Whenever I try to read a book, it's like a Armageddon scenario where, like, I start to read and I go, wait, did I understand that? And then I read it again, and then I read it again, and it's been 25 minutes, and I've gotten through one page, and I'm like, I can't do this. This is impossible.
So I think the subject matter is big there, where you'd have to really care about it. But also, if you have trouble focusing, I remember feeling like that as a kid, and then I really got big into reading for a period as an adult. I love reading books, and I still love reading books. So I'm going to say wired. Here's the tired part of it. To your point, I don't have the time. Like, how am I supposed to read? I want to read this book, and I've gotten like 80 pages in maybe so far. It's like 300 pages. So I'm looking forward to doing that, and then we'll get back on the show. But between work, family, games, how do I find time to read? It's just not the way that it used to be. I need to take a vacation. And when I'm on vacation, I can't even do that. I wanted to go on vacation to the Bahamas this year and read 2 books. I didn't read any. I didn't read a single page because it's not the way that vacations used to be when you're married with kids. So the Audible versions are way more digestible and easier. I could put it on while I'm doing stuff around the house. I could put it on a car trip, whatever, out in the backyard. Like, I mean, I guess if I'm out in the backyard, I could read as well. But there are many more times where I could listen to a book. And that's how I've consumed more books within the last 5 years, by listening to it than actually reading. But I do love reading. I just don't know how adults find the time to do it with everything else that's going on.
I love putting on an audiobook of, like, a sports figure or a musician or a wrestler,
Yeah,
the great Evan Roberts, and having it when I'm playing the show. Sal, there's no joke. I've listened to the Mets Bible 5 times through because it's just calming, and I'm playing baseball, and I like hearing the stories.
Now you're embarrassing yourself. And
no, I'm not even just saying it to be stroking and licking on Johnson. It's very calming, and I'm listening about baseball, hearing a baseball story, playing baseball. Helps me get locked in.
There are a few books that I want to read that are on my list after I finish this book by Vaccaro, The Bosses of the Bronx, and I'm enjoying this so far, really learning about Steinbrenner, certainly early on in this.
I want to put something out to the listeners, too, as a recommendation, because I was looking for this, and now I have a platform to ask. If anybody has a good recommendation for a Jets, like, biographical audiobook, I'm looking for one. I want to learn as much as possible about my franchise, even though they're...
First book I ever read, I think I told you this, The Final Season by Bill Parcells. I have it somewhere back there on my shelf, but I love that book.
I would love if Parcells did an audiobook.
There's a Gorilla Monsoon book that's, I think, out that I can't wait to get into. We talked about this with Michael.
You read Natty's book, too, right?
Yes, I have a little bit left in that. I didn't have the time to do it. I read it. We had her in studio, and she was great. I love that book. I love all wrestling biographies for whatever reason.
Fan of her husband.
Yeah, good dude, TJ too. I'm in his fantasy football league. Bret Hart book you have to read. It's like 500 pages. That was a great book.
You're in the fantasy league with him?
Yeah, with TJ Wilson.
You think you're going to need a co-owner this year?
I don't know. Maybe I'll get you in the league if there's a spot that opens up. All right, that does it for us. I really do have to run, Badabooms. I have something to do here. Plus, it's been 50 minutes, so I'm not to rush, but I have to. We're taping this because the Mets West Coast. We're taping this live Tuesday morning, and then I have something that I committed to at 9 o'clock, so I get like 3 minutes before I log into that. Anyway, not that you care about that. Thanks for joining us. Be back again tomorrow with a fresh new episode of the Sal Licata Show. Download, rate, subscribe, like, comment, wherever you get your podcasts. We'll see you then. Bye.